Well, it's vice grips or pliers, and pliers for a wrench for a hammer, hammer's everything else. It just don't seem to make much difference. I sure do like him, but he's hard on equipment.
G'day, cruiser nerds. Today we are showing you how we fitted a secondary fuel filter to our Landcruiser Troop carrier. And Jadis McLeodis was telling me that a lot of people get an aftermarket secondary fuel filter, but what we actually did was to go to a wreckers and get one from an old rusted out Troopy. And when we did this, it was one of the first jobs that we did together, and I was very inexperienced at the time, and it was quite helpful because I came at it from a completely novice point of view with Jade as my trusty guide. So which means that hopefully this video will give you a good idea of how to do it yourself, because it's from the point of view of someone who needs to learn, as I did from Jade.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing in this video essentially is adding an extra filter. We already have this one this has got a water drain and an alarm in it. We wanted a pre-filter to protect this, maybe extend the service life of this, or just to give it, that's all we're really doing.
Also going to give you a few tips
and
tricks to your install process, what you might forget and what you might not know, as well as a bit of information on the difference between Toyota genuine and aftermarket fuel filters, O-rings, all that sort of stuff, what to look out for, why getting a genuine Toyota one is better, and making a bit of a comparison there. So yeah, hopefully this will give you everything you need to know to do this job yourself. Over to you, Jade, from a year ago.
Now, if anyone who owns an old cruiser, an old 70 series, or probably even a 40, they probably know that this is your spin-off disposable fuel filter. And they only had one fuel filter, and from about 92 onwards they started putting a pre-filter in here just to filter out the dirtier sediment and so forth before it gets to this main filter. It's just a bit of extra protection if you do a lot of outback travelling. Ours is an oldie but a goodie. She doesn't have both, but the simple solution, which we discovered, is just to go to the wreckers and find, because all that Toyota did was basically change this bracket here, so this still bolts on here the same way as it used to, but then this one, as you can see, it looks like it's going to attach here where the air cleaner, it's going to share the air cleaner mount bolts. See, we haven't actually fitted this yet, so we don't know. And basically this inlet pipe will come up to here, which we've marked in. We're pretty smart, and that filter there joins on parallels, or it's actually in series to this filter, and then up through this pipe here and into your injector pump. But it just gives us a bit of extra, we do a lot of bush travelling, and this was an original fitment by Toyota, so somewhere along the lane they decided to that one filter wasn't good enough. Unfortunately Ox missed out on that decision, but she's not going to miss out now.
This is our previous filter in our Landcruiser, and there's only one of these, which means obviously the one filter has to take all of the brunt of all the crap that gets in it. And this is what we're replacing it with, which, as you can see, is basically the exact same thing. You can see they've really just welded this onto there, so you can have a dual filter system. So we just need to get that off, put it on there, slap a new filter in, and we'll be good to go.
We will. Yeah. And if you go down to Toyota and try to buy one of these, which I wouldn't recommend, it's about $500. Part of what we're trying to, why we're fitting this extra pre-filter, you can see, you probably can't see actually, but inside here there's big lumps of shit, debris, chunks of things, and part of the idea is that that filter there, which is before this filter, will filter out all these bigger chunks before they even get to this filter here. So it gives it a bit of a hand. It means probably, if you really wanted, you could probably go longer before servicing this filter, although I probably wouldn't. But you know, it means that cheap filter in there can get rid of this shit and sort of save this one. It's a bit similar to what we do here. We've got a snorkel sock on the front of this, on the front of our snorkel ram intake, and you can see it basically gets all the big shit and insects and things before they even get to the main filter here. So it does give us a bit more life out of that main filter there. As you can see, all these things here have basically a yellow zinc coating on them, which is why they're not painted, but they don't really corrode. If you look at this, for, you know, what, 25, nearly 30-year-old bracket, it's pretty good, pretty free of rust. Here's our new housing. We've replaced these O-rings, and we no longer need this hose here, but we will cut it up and make our new hose out of it. I think that's what we'll do, won't we, Kate?
I think we will.
We'll keep those clamps for Ron, but these hoses are genuine ones. They tend to last a long time, but they sort of just crack around the ends like that. You can see that sort of split a bit here.
We're just looking at the fuel filter and how it all works. What it does is it sets off an alarm when you get a little bit of water in it, like this.
Yeah, and how does it do that, Kate?
Well, it's calibrated so that it will float only when there's water in it. So water and diesel have a different gravitational mass, and it means that when there's diesel in it, it will just sit there as it is. But there's water, which has more of a higher density of gravity.
Yeah, specific gravity.
And set off the alarm in your car, which will cause you to panic and realise that you need to pump out all that no good water.
And go back to the servo that just sold you that junk.
And tell them, you owe me a back, mate.
If you ever get water in your fuel, that alarm, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the giveaway, and it's never thought about until it goes off one day, and then you'll be glad that it's functioning correctly. Look, it's probably not going to work if you've got a lot of water in your tank. You're really probably going to end up having to dump out your fuel. But if you have a little bit of water in there and the light does go off, the idea is that you're able to open this cock here, and as you can see, there's a little eye here, and that allows water to drain out of there. And basically what you do is you, on the top of the fuel pump, as you know, if you've ever changed a fuel filter, there's a primer plunger thing here, which you'll need to use anyway to prime your lines. But if you've got water in there, open that cock and push down on that, and that, in theory, that'll squirt out the water. But obviously if you've taken on a heap of water somehow in your tank or something, then you've got bigger problems, really. These things have 2 tanks, so hopefully you only put water in one. Well, this is our inlet hose. Comes off the, this basically comes out of the fuel tank. These little spring clamps here, the idea of them is basically just so you can change them pretty easily in the bush. They're not ideal. I'm going to lose a little bit of fuel there. It's good old diesel. I might get a rag and put it out. There we go, that one's off. I'll let that diesel run down there. It's good for the paint work. No, there's not much diesel. Obviously it's this here is coming out now. So like I said, we haven't actually fitted this. I don't know how exactly, being Toyota factory item, it should pretty much fit like a finger in a bum hole, but we'll see. Generally speaking, this is only a pre-filter. I'm a little bit dubious about some aftermarket stuff. Sometimes it's not really worth the seemingly better value for money, and there's no doubt there that it just doesn't have as many layers, see, as many folds. You can see that pretty clear,
yeah.
as the real deal. It's the little things. Sometimes even these O-rings, they're not quite as good a quality, and although it might not, you know, you might risk getting a bit of a leak in there somewhere, which in your fuel system means possibly your engine will stop, probably will stop. Alright, Kate's slapping the old the pre-filter in. We just lubricated those O-rings a bit with a bit of diesel fuel and replaced them all, and smash that assembly back together.
Gave it all a bit of a clean.
Gave it a bit of a clean out and all that. Since it was an old used one off an old cruiser, we don't want to Frankenstein the ox too much, but you know, one Troopy's loss is another's gain in this case. That old thing was rusted to the shit house, and so that just gets nipped up a little bit, basically, so it feels about right.
Good to go.
So have a look at that. So that's that bit there done. We'll move on. Moving right along, as they say, as they say, as they say. We're just giving it a bit of a clean in there where it's going to mount, and that's you know, obviously we don't get to see in behind there very often, although pretty good. It's not exactly a corrosion hotspot, but we'll give it a clean and we'll slap a bit of Tectile or something in there before we mount it up while we've got the opportunity. Tectile, it's a corrosion preventative, it's just a compound, it works pretty good. A lot of beach fishermen and stuff use it. Yeah, look, spray it anywhere that can trap anywhere that you could get rust. Works pretty good. I spray it all up the inside of panels and things. I don't drive on the beach much, but if at all. But we use a bit of AV15, LPS3, fish oil, whatever really. And that's what we're going to do here, especially in places where people don't see, because it can get a little bit ugly. I mean, you look here, we spray it along here and around here where these batteries are. This can be pretty corrosive around here, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's covered in Tectile, but it tends to trap dirt and dust, and so it ends up looking pretty horrible, but it does the job, and that's all that really matters.
Tectile, the power of dreams.
Right. They might be able to pay us for that. Well, here we are. Kate's slapping the O-ring on the sensor, and we put the filter on first to connect to the sensor, because basically we can spin the filter onto that, whereas we can't really spin the sensor onto the filter, if you know what I mean. So we'll just twist them wires, and that's why they tend to break. So that only needs to be done hand tight till it feels good, as tight as you can get it by hand. Cadus. And then we now screw that assembly onto here. We've got to fit an O-ring there as well.
You got to keep pointing the camera at it.
I am. She'll be right. You got the O-ring fitted?
Yep, the O-ring's on.
Okay. Spin that up. And normally that bracket would be fitted already, but we haven't got it done yet. But again, basically by hand should be adequate for this. So then Kate's going to mount the whole bracket assembly up now. Well, Kate's got the it's not going to fit bracket fitting beautifully, and she did it all by herself too.
So smug. So smug.
As you can see, it is pretty tight in there next to that air cleaner, but
as well, having teeny tiny lady hands comes in really handy.
It can be really handy. She's pretty good, Kate. So probably in future when we need to replace these filters, the whole assembly, it's probably easier to take the whole assembly out each time anyway. So, but it's not that hard really. It's, what is it, 4 bolts, 5 bolts? Yeah, so we're getting pretty close to slapping the last few bits together. Primary filter's ready to go there. And job done. Need to get our bit of hose, which we decided was good to go a second time, didn't we, Kate?
We did.
is how they used to do it back in the old days. Before the OH&S, you know, hysteria began with all their carry on. Okay, so we obviously we were at least had enough forethought to mark these. We you know, we're not entirely. So this is the inlet. The reason we marked it, obviously, because you probably, if you were guessing, you'd probably guess that that would be the inlet, and that would be your outlet into your next filter. But it's not the case. For whatever reason, this is the inlet from the tank, and this is the outlet. So these hoses sort of have to cross each other. Kate is now mounting the primary filter, and obviously there is a line that connects the two filters together, and she's just attaching that now. Okay, so yeah, a few things to look out for with hoses. It's not rocket science, but there's a couple of good practices, isn't there, Kate?
There is. So we're just trying to make sure that this gets over the bead is all. This little rudimentary little clamper we've got here, probably could do with replacing it, but we're just going to keep hold of it this time. So there's the bead, there's a stopper, so we're going to get it right in there, this bit right in there, so it just clamps it nice and tight.
So it clamps over the bead, and also just look out for maybe your hoses being twisted or kinked, and I mean, if in doubt, just replace them, especially fuel hose. We're being cheap hoses here and just using the old ones, but they're pretty good. Obviously make sure they're routed well, and don't, if they look like they're going to chafe, you know, do whatever you can to stop that, because eventually that will fail. And usually at the worst, probably in the middle of the Simpson or somewhere like that. Just nipping up those final bolts that attach our original filter. Alright, so we've slapped it all together. As you can see, quite a slapping job there. And obviously we've had all the lines apart, we've had it all apart, so, and that's what this thing's for. Push that plunger down and basically just pump that, and you should start to, that's going to pump fuel through, just manually priming the whole thing. And filling up that filter as well, as that holds a fair bit of diesel as well. And you should eventually start to feel resistance. It should get pretty tight, and that's not happening.
Yeah, it is.
Alright. And when she's done there, it shouldn't take too long, Chaos, unless we have a leak, an air leak in the system. If it feels pretty tight.
It was pretty tight.
Alright. Well, now what I suggest is kick it in the guts, and we'll see what happens. It might splutter a little bit. It's probably going to be a slightly rough start, but Daniel.
So just doing a leak check, making sure everything's nice and tight, we haven't got any leaks or anything. And that looks pretty good. There you have it. Hopefully this video has given you all the information you need to be able to do this job yourself, should you so wish. But maybe you don't think you need to. Maybe your after 992 Cruiser is chugging along just fine. And
yeah, after 92 they already have this, I think.
Yeah.
So this is a good mod, I guess, or not a mod really, it's a factory thing that I don't know, for some reason a lot of older Troopies and 70 series didn't have two filters. And if you feel like you probably should have two filters, which I think you probably should.
I mean, Toyota thought you should.
Yeah.
I started doing it.
It doesn't hurt, I don't think. Of course, there are other ways, you know, there are people that add those aftermarket cab filters and stuff like that, so that's a whole another thing. We're not going to go into that. I'm sure people have plenty of success with adding those. We feel like the factory filtration system is plenty good enough, especially for an old banger like the 1HZ. So yeah, with that additional pre-filter makes a big difference, I think, for it. outback travel.
Yeah, certainly when we're going through those difficult tracks and the mining and the canning, etc., and you're taking on fuel from, you know, some slightly questionable places, it's good to know that you have that extra filter in place to filter
Yeah, it's
out
the sediment,
water.
isn't it, really? You know, what you do want your filter to do is make sure no particles get into the injectors pump, you know?
But let us know what you think and how you go. If you have any questions or comments about the install that we did, if you have any tricks yourself, obviously, that you would like to share, write in the comments below. And otherwise, like us, subscribe, follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all the things we're involved with. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Live from the Aldenay car park in Perth.
Sunny Perth, it's freezing.
Oh, what's the ending?
We're just doing the end bit.
What was that again? What do we need to say? Oh, I'll just...
So there you have it. That's not real good.
You can't.
Sure do like him, but he's hard on equipment.